Cold jumps Arctic fence. Judging by the weather, the world seems to have flipped upside down. For 2 winters running, an Arctic chill has descended on Europe and North America. Last year in the United States, historic blizzards afflicted the mid-Atlantic region. This winter, the Deep South has endured unusual snowstorms and severe cold, and the frigid Northeast is bracing for what could shape into another major snowstorm this week. More records being broken. And yet, while people in Atlanta learn to shovel snow, the weather 2,000 miles to the north has been freakishly warm the past 2 winters. Throughout northeastern Canada and Greenland, temperatures in December ran as much as 15 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. Bays and lakes have been slow to freeze. Ice fishing, hunting, and trade routes have been disrupted. In the remote Canadian territory of Nunavut, they had to cancel the New Year's snowmobile parade. The deputy mayor said that people in the region had been looking with envy at snowbound American and European cities. People are saying, "That's where all our snow is going," he added. The immediate cause of the topsy-turvy weather is clear enough. A pattern of atmospheric circulation that tends to keep frigid air penned in the Arctic has weakened during the last 2 winters, allowing big tongues of cold air to descend far to the south, while masses of warmer air have moved north. The deeper issue is whether this pattern is linked to the rapid changes that global warming is causing in the Arctic, particularly the drastic loss of sea ice. At least 2 prominent climate scientists have offered theories suggesting that it is, but others are doubtful, saying the recent events are unexceptional, or that more evidence over a longer period would be needed to establish a link. Since satellites began tracking it in 1979, the ice on the Arctic Ocean's surface in the bellwether month of September has declined by more than 30%. It is the most striking change in the terrain of the planet in recent decades, and a major question is whether it is starting to have an effect on broad weather patterns. Ice reflects sunlight, and scientists say the loss of ice is causing the Arctic Ocean to absorb more heat in the summer. A handful of scientists point to that extra heat as a possible culprit in the recent harsh winters in Europe and the United States. Their theories involve a fast-moving river of air called the jet stream that circles the northern hemisphere. Many winters, a strong pressure difference between the polar region and the middle latitudes channels the jet stream into a tight circle, or vortex, around the North Pole, effectively containing the frigid air at the top of the world. "It's like a fence," said a researcher in Camp Springs, Maryland, with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So, when that pressure difference diminishes, however, the jet stream weakens and meanders southward, bringing warm air into the Arctic and cold air into the mid-latitudes, exactly what has happened the last couple of winters. The effect is sometimes compared to leaving a refrigerator door open, with cold air flooding the kitchen even as warm air enters the refrigerator. This has happened intermittently for many decades. Still, it is very unusual for the polar vortex to weaken as much as it has lately. Last winter, one index related to the vortex hit its lowest wintertime value since record-keeping began in 1865. And it was quite low again in December. James E. Overland, a climate scientist with NOAA in Seattle, has proposed that the extra warmth in the Arctic Ocean could possibly be heating the atmosphere enough to make it less dense, causing the air pressure over the Arctic to be closer to that of the middle latitudes. The added heat works against having a strong polar vortex, he said. But Dr. Overland acknowledges that his idea is tentative and needs further research. Many other climate scientists are not convinced, saying that a 2-year span, however unusual, is not much on which to base a new theory. We haven't got sufficient insight to make definitive claims, said the head of climate analysis at the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder, Colorado. Judah Cohen, director of seasonal forecasting at a company called Atmospheric and Environmental Research in Lexington, Massachusetts, has spotted what he believes is a link between increasing snow in Siberia and the weakening of the polar vortex. In his theory, the extra snow is creating a dense, cold air mass over northern Asia in the late autumn, setting off a complex chain of cause and effect that ultimately perturbs the vortex. Dr. Cohen said in an interview that the rising Siberian snow might, in turn, be linked to the decline of Arctic sea ice, with the open water providing extra moisture to the atmosphere, much as the Great Lakes produce heavy snows in cities like Buffalo and Syracuse. He is publishing seasonal forecasts based on his work, supported by the National Science Foundation. Those forecasts correctly predicted the recent harsh winters in the mid-latitudes. But Dr. Cohen acknowledges, as does Dr. Overland, that some of his ideas are tentative and need further research. The uncertainty about what is causing the strange, unusual winters highlights a core difficulty of climate science. So, while mainstream researchers are sure that greenhouse gases released by humans are warming the earth, or so they say, they also acknowledge being on shakier ground in trying to predict the regional effects of that change. It is entirely possible, they say, that some regions will cool temporarily because of disruption of the atmospheric and oceanic circulation, even as the Earth warms overall. In other words, Earth's response to global warming, or whatever have you call it. Bloggers who specialize in raising doubts about climate science have gleefully pointed to the recent winters in the United States and Europe as evidence that climatologists must be mistaken about a warming trend. These commentators have not been as eager to write about the strange warmth in parts of the Arctic, a region that scientists have long predicted will warm more rapidly than the planet as a whole. Without doubt, the winter weather that began and ended 2010 was remarkable. 2 of the 10 largest snowstorms in New York City history occurred last year, including the one that disrupted travel right after Christmas. The 2 snowstorms that fell on Washington and surrounding areas within a week in February had no known precedent in the overall impact on the region, with total accumulations of 40 inches in some places. But the winters were not the whole story. Even without them, 2010 would have gone down as one of the strangest years in the history of climatology, thanks in part to a weather condition known as El Niño, which dumped heat from the Pacific Ocean into the atmosphere early in the year. Later, the ocean surface cooled, a condition known as La Niña, contributing to heavy rainfall in many places. And despite cooling from La Niña, newly compiled figures show that 2010 was among the 2 warmest years in the historical record. It featured a heat wave in Russia, all-time high temperatures in at least 17 countries, the hottest summer in New York City history, and devastating floods in Pakistan, China, Australia, United States, and other countries. It was a wild year, said Christopher C. Burt, a weather historian for Weather Underground, an internet site. Still, however erratic the weather may have become, it is not obvious to most people how global warming could lead to frigid winters. Many scientists are hesitant to back such assertions, at least until they gain a better understanding of what is going on in the Arctic. In interviews, several scientists recalled that in the decade ending in the mid-1990s, the polar vortex seemed to be strengthening, not weakening, producing mild winters in the United States and Western Europe. At the time, some climate scientists wrote papers attributing the change to global warming. Some newspapers printed laments for winter lost, but soon after, the apparent trend went away, an experience that has made many researchers more cautious. John M. Wallace, an atmospheric scientist at the University of Washington, wrote some of the earlier papers. This time around, he said, it will take a lot of evidence to convince him that a few harsh winters in London or Washington have something to do with global warming. Just when you publish something and it looks like you're seeing a connection, Dr. Wallace said, nature has a way of humbling us. And again, in other words, could this be Earth's response to global warming or climate change or whatever have you call it? And could there be something more going on, something much bigger? There are also things like the magnetic pole shift that happens every so often. And again, all these are more signs of the times, the end times, transition days, which is a continuing day-by-day process. Everything that must change for the better, and quickly or rapidly, because everything is connected and everything is numbered. Joel chapter 2, Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the earth tremble, for the day of the Lord comes, for it is near at hand. 2. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains. A great people and a strong, there has never been ever the likes, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. 3. A fire devours before them, and behind them a flame burns. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yes, and nothing shall escape them. 4. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen. So shall they run. 5. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devours the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. 6. Before their face the people shall be much pained. All faces shall gather blackness. 7. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. 8. Neither shall one hurt another. They shall walk every one in his path, and when they fall upon the sword or weapon, they shall not be wounded. 9. They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb up upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. 10. The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. 11. And the Lord shall utter his voice before his army, for his camp is very great, for he is strong that executes his word. For the day of the Lord is great and very terrible, and who can abide it? 12. Therefore also now, saith the Lord, turn ye even to me with all your heart, and with fasting, and with weeping, and with mourning. 13. And rend your heart, and not your garments, and turn unto the Lord your God, for he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and repents him of the evil. 14. Who knows if he will return and repent, and leave a blessing behind him, even a meat offering and a drink offering unto the Lord your God. Luke chapter 21, verse 9. But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. 10. Then Jesus said, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. 11. And great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines, and pestilences, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. And yes, again, like I say, it's time for all prophecy to be fulfilled. And all these or more signs happening daily all around the world. Watch the weather change.